Okay, ladies, so week 1, we're going to talk about calories versus nourishment, our portion sizes, and what are macronutrients. Quick breakdown, and then we will have more discussion on Sunday, is calories versus nourishment means what amount of energy is stored in the food for the human body. And when you consume it, what amount of energy is useful to you. The nourishment of a food is about what its content is. So the content of the food, meaning vitamins and minerals, the fiber, the electrolytes, the salt, the water level, as well as what is called macronutrients and micronutrients. So if you have a food that is a plant, so let's say a lemon, for example, it is relatively low in calories because of the amount of energy that it actually provides for the human body, but it is high in nourishment. It has a lot of fiber. It has a lot of vitamin C. It has some medicinal properties as well, so I would consider that nourishment, although some people would argue the technicality. I also wanted to say that lemons can be used for more than just eating, because you tend to eat them in a small quantity anyways. I don't know very many people who would cut up a lemon and eat the whole thing. So you can also consider its use over the long term as well as very nourishing, because a lemon lasts a long time. Once you've consumed a food, let's use a different example, like a hot dog. Let's say you have had the whole hot dog, you've got the link that's the meat portion, and then you have a bread bun, and then you have maybe some condiments on top, like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, relish, whatever it is that you like, cheese sauce, onions, tell me what you like on your hot dogs. The calorie content and the nourishment are going to be much different than something like the lemon. And here's why. The amount of calories that are in there is going to be substantially higher based on its content of macronutrients, which is going to be proteins and fats, much more than the lemon. The lemon does not really have a whole lot of fats or proteins. Obviously, carbohydrates play a factor with a hot dog because you've got the bread bun there. Let's say you don't have the bread bun, there's still that fats and protein content. As a whole, we would consider, all three of those things being the high calorie content. The nourishment of that hot dog, what's in it? Is it real beef? Is it processed byproducts of animal parts? Is it going to be filled with vegetable oils or seed oils to make it more shelf stable, and the way that it cooks is going to be different? Or is it going to be, packaged in an actual, usually like hot dogs can come in like how do I say this? Packaged in the intestine of an animal for the casing, or is it going to be in an artificial type of casing? Is it, does it have nitrates in it? Does it have other fillers? Does it have artificial sweeteners? Or is it an all-natural product, where natural meaning it came straight from the source and it came from either all animal or all earth-based ingredients? So the nourishment amount in your hot dog is greatly going to change depending on what it's made of. But the calorie amount might be identical, even if it's a Costco hot dog that is, very processed and refined and has some artificial things in it, versus an all organic sourdough bread roll with a, farm pasture raised cow hot dog beef link in it. So Your nourishment is greatly different, even though the amount of energy in those two different hot dogs might be the same. Now, how does that work? So basically, a macronutrient is a protein, a carbohydrate, or a fat. That's a very, very, very basic breakdown. And there's a lot of chemistry that we will cover more in the next 7 weeks, but let's just start with the basics of those 3 areas of nutrients. And the first one, we will start with fats. The calorie content is the same for a general fat molecule. And what we say is that 1 gram of a fat molecule, various types of fat molecules, provides about 9 calories of energy. So 1 gram of a fat molecule in your food, fat macronutrient in your food, is about 9 calories. So when we look at nutrition labels later, you'll start being able to do some of the math for yourself and kind of figure out where you want to aim in the amount of grams of fats in your meals. So the next thing is proteins. General protein content of calories per gram is about 4 calories per 1 gram of a protein molecule. And again, that's various types of proteins. There's lots of different kinds of proteins and things like that. So we'll get more into the details later, but basics, 4 calories per gram of protein. And now the fun thing is there's also about 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. Again, various types of carbohydrates. You've got different molecular structures for different types of carbohydrates, but in general, they're running about 4 calories per gram. So going back to knowing that calories is how much energy is being provided into your body, that's how people usually end up calculating the amount of grams of different foods they want to measure for the day. I do not teach measuring your food unless it's part of something that will help you reach your goals. I don't want you to think that that's necessary if it's not something that is helpful. So it will only come up if needed because there may be a weight loss goal, or you're learning how much of certain macronutrients are in your foods that maybe you just didn't know and you want to build up some awareness. You know, there's other examples of reasons why we might practice measuring the grams of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates in your foods. But for now, I'm not worried about it, and neither should you. So that kind of just gives you an overview of where these numbers come from for calories and the amount of energy in your food. The nourishment is really what we're going to focus on. And the reason why is because you're all here to be part of a detox program. And that includes, but not limited to, what is in your food and how to make it as clean and nourishing as possible. Because if you take out things that are not necessary, your body becomes more efficient with what is necessary. You do need fats and proteins and carbohydrates every day to help all of your bodily functions and your systems run properly. So we're going to focus on them being quality and the nourishment factor. The calorie content will kind of take care of itself once you learn how to read how you're feeling. And if you're full and if you know that you've had the right amounts of nourishment through the day, the calories do end up kind of figuring themselves out. You become intuitive, naturally lose some extra weight that you may not need. If you have extra weight that you don't need, you might gain some weight if you're underweight and you need to gain some because you're more nourished. So it can go any way on the weight scale. We're not focusing on that. We want you to be nourished. So portion sizes, that leads me to portion sizes. I think that the best way to do that is through visuals. So I'm going to pause this and I'll be right back with some little plastic pieces that we'll look at together. Okay, so I grabbed a dish and it's fall themed because it's cold outside and it's October, and I hope you're having a wonderful October so far. We're going to talk about portion sizes with some visual aids. I want to see if we can do this together right here. Great. Okay. I think you can see that. And portion sizes are going to be broken into those basic categories that I was telling you are macronutrients. It's not the whole picture, but just stick with me and I'll break it down and run through the most important parts. So in your yes list that's in your workbook, I've categorized fats, carbohydrates, and proteins into very complete sections. So if you want to take a look at that while I'm going through this video, this part of the video, that might be really helpful so that it's making sense while you're reviewing some of the information on paper and then seeing the visual. So first of all, when you're building a plate for a meal, this is not a snack, this is a meal, you want to start with half of the plate being plants of some kind, plant-based deliciousness. You want half of the plate to be, you know, it could be, let's say we've got a little pumpkin here, some salad for your digestion, some peppers in your salad, and let's say you wanted I don't know, let's see, carrots, pumpkin, apple. What if this is like a homemade spiced apple, pumpkin, carrot saute? That actually sounds really good with some like cinnamon in it. I don't know, maybe I'll try that. And then, or maybe that sounds terrible to you, but whatever, just use your imagination. And then like a little salad here on the side. So you've got half your plate is full of plants. The portion sizes for carbohydrates on your yes list and the description in the following page says that your carbohydrates that are starchy or fruit need to be the size of a fist or a handful. So the reason we use that as a reference for visual aid is because your hand is different sized for your body than my hand is for my body, versus some 6'5" basketball player's hand versus a child's hand. So we want to be looking at the portion for your body size using your hand. So my carbohydrates here, my apple, my starchy veggie with the fruit slash veggie gourd with the pumpkin is going to be a handful. Make sense? So like the size of my fist is the size of this group of carbohydrates. Now, carrots, they've got some carbs, but it's so minimal, I threw them in there on the unlimited veggies list. The unlimited veggies list is where we've got our leafy greens here. That's how we filled up half the plate with plants, but it's not half of the plate full of carbohydrates. That would be much too much of the carbohydrates for proper portion size in a meal. So we're going to fill up the rest of that plate with leafy greens, veggies, deliciousness. Enjoy. Making sense so far? So my carbohydrate portion is proper and half of my plate is plants for the fiber and the nourishment. Now, protein. We want to make a large portion of this protein as well. So let's say we have, not yet. Whoops, dropped an egg. Let's say we have, I thought I had some chicken in here. Yes, okay, I do. So let's say 1/3 to 1/4 of my plate is going to be protein. So proteins are in that list as well. You might be surprised that some things are in the fat category and not the protein category. That is because certain meat products especially have a lot of fat in them, and so we eat them a little bit more moderately than the portion size for just a straight up good solid lean protein. So let's pretend this little chicken leg, I know it looks fried, let's pretend it's just a plain chicken that doesn't have a fried coating on it. And then a lean beef patty is also here, so that's going to be in the section of protein that's the 93% or less, or sorry, 93% or more of just the lean meat and 7% or less of the fat content. And an egg. Eggs are a wonderful source of protein. Yes, eat the yolk, they are wonderfully nourishing. So just for visual demonstrations, you can see that this part of my plate is protein. Now, what do I do with this section here? Well, honestly, you can do whatever the heck you want with it as long as you're keeping your portion sizes in check. I mean, I would be stuffed completely full if all of these were actual size foods, prepared, seasoned, delicious, and if I ate this whole thing, I would be quite satisfied for a meal. But what if you want to add something extra over here? So let's talk about fats. Fat content of your foods is a little bit less easy to identify visually because it's usually mixed with the meal. On your display, I forgot to say for the proteins, you want to have a full palmful of protein. So that would be like a whole chicken breast or several eggs or 2 lean beef patties or a large fillet of whitefish, something like that. So it's the size of your hand here, your whole hand, not just your palm. So fingertip to wrist is how much protein I have on my plate. So if your plates are bigger or smaller, and I said a third or a quarter of your plate should be protein, the hand portion is more important than the size of the plate. So you can use both as a reference and just try not to overthink it too much. All right, so back to fats. Now, if I wanted to have my salad be extra big and it's covering a larger portion of the plate than my plastic display here, my dressing might have my fat from my meal in it. And the fats are going to be the thumb portions. So you could have, a cup size, like those extra serving sizes you can order your dressing on the side from a restaurant, like a portion of one of those, and dunk it all over your salad, and you've got your healthy fat, hopefully with an olive oil or a ghee or some other dressing that you've made homemade from that list of healthy fats. Or what if your meal is made with a peanut sauce, where you have more of a Thai style meal and you want to do a sauce that's very fatty made from nut butter. There's other options too, like I like cottage cheese on my salad as a dressing with a sprinkled mixed seasoning on top. I think it's delightful. So then I've got a 4% or whole fat, 4% cottage cheese option if I'd like to do that. And it keeps me satiated because fats are wonderful for you. You need them for a lot of different organ systems and nervous system uses. Or I could use the lean version of the cottage cheese for something else, which is protein based. It's your pure protein without the fat in it, would be a non-fat cottage cheese. I could choose the 4% cottage cheese, create a dressing in the blender, and put that on my salad, and it is rich and thick and wonderful. Other fat options with this meal might be using an extra drizzle of olive oil after your meats are prepared. Or if you really like coconut oil, you can saute your vegetables in an appropriate portion size of coconut oil or avocado oil for your veggies if you wanted to cook them. I hope this is making sense, but that's why the thumb thing sounds kind of funny. But if you're the one making your food, or you know how many grams approximately this size of your body is, for me that would be 10, 15 grams maybe. That's how much fat is something that you want to mix in with your meal. I hope this is making sense. I do feel like I'm rambling a little bit. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask, or if you heard me say something that I maybe mixed up my words or didn't quite sound like it lined up correctly. Sometimes I stumble on my words when I'm giving instructions, so just correct me, keep me on my toes, and I want to make sure I'm giving you all the accurate information without confusion. Also, if I had this empty spot on my plate, I would probably want to go for seconds on any veggie that is unlimited if I was still hungry. So like pickled beets, I'd probably throw some pickled beets on there because they're kind of amazing. Or with this meal, I would probably want, let me think. I'd probably want to do like some green beans. That would be a good one too. So let me know your thoughts and get back to me whenever you want to, whether it be before Sunday or during this first week, and we'll talk to you soon.